Golda, a Mulher de uma Nação é o novo lançamento que narra a trajetória da Dama de Ferro de Israel durante a Guerra de Yom Kippur. O Aventuras na História entrevistou com exclusividade o roteirista do filme, Nicholas Martin. Confira!
All right. Hello, Nicola. How are you?
I'm very well. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And well, for us to start, I want to know what was the challenge to caption Golda's story in such a context that is so, big and difficult to represent. How was working with that and trying to individualize her story?
I think the first challenge was understanding the story. I could see that this war, the Yom Kippur War, was such an important and pivotal moment in her life, and it seemed to draw together all of her experience from childhood, all of her experience of living in the United States and understanding American politics. The really hard part was with such an enormous story, I first had to really understand it, which took a long, long time because I started with virtually no knowledge of this era. And I was 10 years old when the Yom Kippur War started. And I vaguely remember some black and white TV shots or something, but I didn't really know anything. And my knowledge of Israeli history is quite ordinary. So that was the challenge, to understand the story and then try and find a way of simplifying it and telling it in a way through Golda's eyes. So we see the whole story unfold really through her, and to understand why she made the decisions that she did and how she was able to make them. So really getting a strong sense of her character, and that took me a long time before I didn't want to start writing the script. I was quite frightened because I thought, oh, this is going to be so difficult. But I was at least 18 months before I started the first draft.
Well, on the movie, Golda is pointed as an international hero, but her image in her own country is a little controversial, right? So how do you see her image today and also the way that her country sees her nowadays?
Well, you're right. I grew up thinking that Golda was terrific. My father really liked her. In the United States, she's always been very, very popular. And it was a real surprise to me when I started visiting Israel to do the research to discover that she was extremely unpopular in Israel. And I can remember trying to hire a researcher, and I spoke to a couple of people who just said, I'm not going to work on a film about that terrible woman. She ruined this country. And, I was stunned by the anger that people felt for her. And so trying to understand that anger was a big part of, writing the script. I think that the problem that Golda had was that the Israeli opinion of her was formed immediately after the end of the Yom Kippur War, and it was the picture that they had of Golda as being this stupid old woman that was surprised and was a terrible leader just wasn't accurate, because so much of the information was secret. And it's only really been in the last few years that this information, these documents have been declassified. And a far more complex picture is emerging. And it's clear that she made very good decisions during the war. But a lot of the information she was being given, particularly by military intelligence, was just wrong. So she was so the surprise was really caused by the poor information she was being fed. So she was not. She ultimately took full responsibility for the war, but and it was very, very painful for her, I think, not to be able to tell the truth of what actually happened. So I think that I would give her 9 out of 10 for her conduct during the war. I think most Israelis would have given her 1 or 2 out of 10. But I think this movie is really changing things. And I heard yesterday that I was told that a very senior officer in Israeli military intelligence ordered his entire unit to go and see the film. That's 3,000 military intelligence officers. So I think if he liked the film and he thought it was useful, then that struck me that we're really having a good effect. So people have, people that are Israelis that have seen the film have all been incredibly positive about it. It's been very well received. And no one's said to me yet, this is all wrong, you've got the story wrong. No one said that yet. I'm sure that there are factual errors in it that I don't know about, but I look forward to discussing these with anyone that wishes to discuss them.
Yeah, to be honest, it was also a surprise to think that she was not so welcomed by her people's eyes, right? And also you mentioned that the Yom Kippur War was important on her path too. But why choosing this exact part to tell people her story too?
Well, I like films that are focused on one event. So the last movie I made, which was called Florence Foster Jenkins, was about this deluded woman that sang at Carnegie Hall. And I thought, rather than try and tell the whole story of her life, I'll just focus on this one event. It seemed to be the key moment. And I really liked the idea of telling Golda's part in the Yom Kippur War, because it was very near the end of her life. She died 4 years afterwards. And it seemed to me that this is where all the strands of her life came together. It seemed, and particularly her the fear she'd felt as a child when her Jews in Kiev were being attacked. I think that she had reached the point in life where she was no longer afraid of anyone or anything. And she says in the movie, if we have to fight the Russians, we will. And she meant it. And Kissinger knew that she meant it. So in this, at the end, there's a kind of game of poker where he's trying to get her to blink and accept a ceasefire. And she says, no, I'm all in. If they want to fight with me, they can fight. So it seems that this moment was the moment she was kind of born for in a way. So our great hero, Winston Churchill, he said at the beginning of the Second World War, I've made so many mistakes during my life, but all of the mistakes and errors I have made have brought me to this moment. So his experience had left him uniquely equipped to lead Great Britain and the Allied powers into the Second World War, because he'd seen so much, he understood so much. And I think Golda was the same. She was a tremendous leader during this war. And I hope that the Israelis will begin to reconsider their views of her. And I think they are.
Yeah, sure, totally. And also the part of Helen Mirren as Golda is impeccable. So how was working with her and also dealing with all the criticism around the fact that she's not Jewish?
Well, with regard to the criticism, I only have one thing to say, and that is, do you think that she did a good job? So if you think that she plays Helen well, if she plays Golda well, then this argument that she's not Jewish, this just falls away, doesn't it? It's no longer an argument.
Tea of life and peace.
Shall I stay?